This is how I made this fantasy D&D inspired tavern set for Paymoneywubby's Magic the Gathering show mulligans. There were some logistics that needed to be factored into the design before getting started, like hiring HVAC guys to install a mini split and electricians to add some new receptacles since there are only 3 outlets in the entire garage. Hire garage door guys to come and replace the standard overhead opener to a side mount system, then raise the track to above the 8 feet clearance needed, so we can still use the door and get some studio lights installed. Plus a few smaller things I'll do myself, like patch the drywall and insulate the garage door. Most of all, do no permanent alterations to the garage that would negatively affect the resale value of the house. Which means it has to be a freestanding set, which is difficult to do with the little space available. Normally you would build something called a flat, but they require space behind the set that just isn't there. I can't support the walls by anchoring to the building, so I figured out another way. I remembered IKEA is constantly making new sets, and I found out they use these style of brackets. So I got some modular pergola brackets, and I am ready to go. The subcontractors are all scheduled for their specific parts that are necessary for the next contractor to come do their job. I really can't do anything else until they're done besides get materials, but I'll be down there for a little under a month. So as long as they come through and do what they promised when they said they would get it done, I should have plenty of time to get this project done.
You'll never guess what happened. Every single contractor besides the HVAC guy went over their quoted amount of time. I've been here 17 days. They took 10 days longer than they said they would. I'm going to go pick up my buddy Nick. I hit him up and I said, hey man, I only got 9 days left to do this. And him being a good friend, he was on a flight the next day. So hopefully we can get this figured out. I'm a little stressed out.
9 days isn't a whole lot of time. You might be asking, why don't you just stay longer and finish it whenever it's done? The short answer is, I already have other jobs lined up for when I'm supposed to get back. I don't want to be the guy that sets back an entire project. Look at how nice that garage door goes over the set walls. It was definitely worth the wait. This part isn't too different from regular construction. This pergola frame makes it pretty easy to attach the stud walls. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, this isn't one of those YouTube surprise videos where I made Wubby not go into his own garage for like a month for a totally real reaction. It's more of a, look how much work goes into something like this, type video. Now that the frame is up, it's time to add the plywood sheathing and cut all of the openings for the windows, bar, and arched doorway. This is actually over 1 ton of material, which was enough to squat the little rental truck on the way back from Home Depot. I'm using a projector to lay out my arches. I know there are tricks you can do with nails, string, and math, but this was way easier. I really don't have enough time to overcomplicate anything at this point. An added benefit of building the set this way is all of the space behind the set becomes an instant storage area. It feels like we spend as much time every day going out to get materials as we did in the garage actually working on the set. Now that all of the plywood sheathing is up, it's time to start on the foam brickwork. This is XPS Insulation Foam Board, which stands for Extruded Polystyrene. It's a thermoplastic, which means it can be formed, molded, or cut with heat. I made a hot wire cutter out of this old sketchy battery charger and stainless steel wire. I have a ton of footage like this that I never put out. This is from a project a couple years ago. It's hard to tell what's interesting enough to show to you guys. This is a large Peepo statue I made for Cutie Cinderella. It was on display at the Streamer Awards. I chose to make it out of XPS because it's a super versatile material that is easy to form and accepts fillers and certain paints very well. That's why it's a favorite for sculptors and scenic artists. With the right techniques and paint, you can get some really organic shapes and textures from this foam. In order to get that organic texture, I'm using a paver clamped to a 2x4 to deboss the foam. All of these marks get really accentuated when they get hit with the heat gun. Then all of the foam gets some Loctite power grab adhesive for the initial sticking, and will get screwed into the plywood later for a more permanent mechanical hold. I'm using the cutout from the arch as a guide for the rest of the wall. It's kind of like making your own puzzle, but every time you mess up, it costs you money. Once again, I'm utilizing the projector to mark out the area where I'm going to be carving out the bricks. While I'm doing that, Nick is going to spread about 40 pounds of joint compound over the plywood to make a faux plaster cob texture, to give the tavern a little bit more variety visually. Since we went to the trouble of getting the AC installed, I designed this fireplace to act as a large air duct, which directs all of that heavy cold air down through the fireplace into the set. It works surprisingly well. Then it's more of the foam work for the stone chimney. This wooden accent wall is made of literally every pre-stained shiplap board that Lowe's had in a 50-mile radius. I'm bouncing between the most enjoyable parts of this build to try and scrounge up any bit of dopamine I can muster to keep me going, like putting up the accent wall or painting this beautiful French vanilla color. Basically just procrastinating because the foam is so slow and tedious. Every time I look over at how much I have left to do, I get a sense of dread. But I also think that it forces me to come up with better ways of doing things. I swapped out the Sharpie for a dental pick, and I'm just scoring the outline of the bricks directly, which saves a bit of time. When you hit it with a heat gun, it opens up the grout lines from the dental pick and makes all of the marks from the paver texturizing more noticeable. I'll still need to come in after the fact and touch up some areas and bevel some corners with an X-Acto knife. Then if there are any areas that get too deep or there are any unsightly seams, they have to get filled with joint compound. After the bricks are hit with the heat gun, it needs to be sealed with a PVA and acrylic paint layer as a protective coating. As you can see, it goes on really slow. It's too thick to spray on and won't roll on the very textured surface. This is 25 times speed, and it's still slow. Sometimes you just gotta power through it. I found a quicker way than the dental pick. The only downside is it's super messy. All of these macro plastics are statically charged, so they stick to everything, including me. Every square inch of the foam needs to be hit with this heat gun to make all of the texture pop before it gets sealed. Then we installed these diffused windows. The progress is slow but noticeable. Pretty much the next couple days are just doing more revision passes of the tedious things I've already shown you. As you can imagine, there's a lot of cleanup involved.
Hey, Jesus Christ. Taking a video of me too? I got that shit, dude.
For the other two walls that are not going to be filmed, I'm going to make a comfy hangout area that could also double as a turnkey podcast set if they ever decide to do one. Since you can only film two walls at the same time, I figured that would be the most versatile use of the space. The bricks get a base coat of a mix of earth tones, then they will get hit with a wash of darker colors to really soak into the creases and valleys. Then they get a highlight pass of a lighter color that will hit all of the raised texture, giving a very three-dimensional effect. I'm glad I decided to go with this technique instead of getting some pre-made panels. You can really see how the light interacts with all of the individual textures on the bricks. The worst of it's over now. I have about 1 day left, so I can take my time and slow down with the final weathering, props, and set dressing. Like adding these planks for a timber frame look. Ironically, I think that where the set really shines is in low light. The way the practical flicker flame lights hit the surrounding walls, it gives off a really calm and comfy vibe. It feels like an outside space at night, inside, if that makes sense. This was also a good way to incorporate all of Wubby's Lord of the Rings weapons and props. It also acts as a place for some new stuff specifically curated for the set, like this mounted mind flayer, along with all the stuff that gets sent to the P.O. box. Apparently scenic artist jobs, like set building, are slowly becoming less common because of the rapid advances in digital technology like VFX, CGI, and AI. Most of the time it's easier to just throw up a green screen than it is to physically build something that usually won't be permanent. So I'm glad I got a chance to give this art form a try. And hopefully, he'll keep it around for a while. This is one of those rare instances where I get to do a project with almost full creative freedom, not just a one-off prop or something from a video game or show. Even though I didn't have a lot of time, I tried to put as much thought and detail in every corner of this set, even in the spaces that I know will never be seen on camera. I think that's what makes these kind of things immersive. I was able to get Tucker Prescott to come out here last minute to help me with the studio lights. And given the really odd limitations of this garage studio, I think he did a great job. And obviously, I literally couldn't have done it in such a short amount of time without a second Nick, so thanks, bud. You're a real one. Hopefully this works as a good set for Wubby. I'm grateful for him taking a chance on me and the generosity he's thrown my way. You're in the vid now.
No, bro!
You're just fucking running.
No!
I know sincerity is cringe, but if you think I earned it, consider subscribing and leaving a comment so that YouTube thinks this type of content is worth promoting. If you know somebody thinking of making their own D&D tavern, send them this video. If you want to check any of the other projects I've made, you can click here or on my channel. Thanks for watching.